maybe? So today's video is going to be the long-awaited volleyball video. Since I posted my volleyball tryout tips video like a year ago, which is so cringeworthy, I've gotten so many requests for you guys to do more, and I thought volleyball terminology videos would be really cool. One of my subscribers did request it. So I'm going to be turning it into a series on my channel. You guys can expect a volleyball video maybe like every 2 weeks or so, just because they take a lot of time to edit, because I like giving you guys like video examples and like evidence, I guess. So this first video is going to be on all of the volleyball serving terminology words. So all the video examples in this video are actually like footage of my team playing, which is really cool. It is from this season, and my teammate's dad does a great job of recording them and editing them, and he does try to make them as concise as possible. So unfortunately that does mean that like the videos of us basically like serving and putting the ball in play are usually not included in the video. Like he only gets videos of us actually playing. But I did manage to sift through all of the videos from this season and find these few examples of serving. Some really quick background information before we get started. I have been playing volleyball for 6 years, and I have been in the club volleyball system for 4 years. And all the definitions and tips and stuff I give you guys are from my own experience. But yeah, let's just get on into it. If I look down, it's because my notes I wrote on my computer are like down here. But basically, what is serving? Serving in volleyball is basically putting the ball into play. It's the first contact, technically. And my coaches like to say it's the only unforced error in volleyball. Is you, as a player, as a person, are the only one responsible for putting that ball over the net. You can get points from it, you can lose points from it, and things like that. And 100% of the time, the player in the one position, which is the right back position of the court, serves. So basically, that player will hit the ball over the net from behind the actual court. There's a thing called the end line that you can't cross, and we will also talk about that a little bit more in depth later. So when you are serving, you obviously can't cross this end line, otherwise it's called a foot fault. And in a foot fault, you cannot step and you cannot cross that designated line. It's kind of like the in and out line. And if you do touch the line or cross it, step over it, whatever, your team loses the point and the ball goes to the other team. So what is a service error? It's basically an unsuccessful attempt at a serve. So the ball maybe doesn't clear the net, it could go out of bounds, out of the designated in and out kind of boundary lines, or it can be a foot fault. Okay, so now that we have kind of the basic rules of serving, we could go into serving styles. So the first is the very, very basic kind of serving style, and it's underhand. So many coaches will teach this to players if they're kind of like at a younger age. I learned this when I was obviously in 5th grade when I first started playing. So how this works, I have a really embarrassing video for you guys from 5th grade. Yes, I dug through my computer to try to find this video for you guys. It's very embarrassing. But with an underhand serve, you basically hold the ball in your non-dominant hand at knee level, and you'll take your dominant hand and you'll make a fist. And what you do is you kind of use a pendulum motion, and you will contact the ball with your closed fist underneath, kind of like right by your hand, and it'll sail the ball over the net. Oftentimes, as you get more kind of advanced into volleyball, people call this a rainbow or lollipop serve. It's mostly attributed to underhand serves, but you can have an overhand serve that's a lollipop as well. And that happens when you contact the ball underneath as it's falling instead of hitting it kind of straight on. So a rainbow or lollipop is really, really, really easy to reserve, and it has a name because it kind of resembles a rainbow. It's like a parabola. And usually younger players serve this because at that age when you're just starting to play, coaches really just want to teach you to get the ball over the net and kind of just get it in play, because inevitably the other team will make a mistake. Once you have mastered the underhand serve, usually you will graduate to overhand. So basically overhand involves a toss and a hit-like motion to send the ball over the net. And there are a bunch of different types of overhand serve. So the first one is the standing float serve. This was usually the very first one that you learn. We always like to call this the foundation serve because you really can't move on to other different types of overhand serving until you master this one. So to execute the standing float serve, you will basically toss the ball in the air and then you hit it, basically, and it goes over the net miraculously. I know it sounds pretty easy, but trust me, it's really hard to get the hang of, especially if you're younger. So have patience with it, and the most important part of serving is your toss. So your toss should be only as high as your extended arm. You don't want to toss outrageously high when you're first starting because your timing can get off. You can have kind of erratic tosses which really do like affect your serve. And a tip is if you're smaller, like I am, you want to use your body. So you really want to take steps and not just use like your wrist, don't just use your arm. You want to use your entire body to use all that strength and basically send it over the net. A standing float usually doesn't spin erratically in the air, making it really easy to receive. Although sometimes you have those really weird kind of drop stand float serves where basically they just in the air one point and they just drop right in front of you. It can be kind of hard to receive, but overall standing floats are pretty self-explanatory. And this is a video of my teammate Naomi, and she has a standard standing float serve. So the next one is a standing topspin serve. It's basically the same kind of steps as a standing float serve, except the ball just kind of has a lot more spin onto it. So this happens when you contact the ball right on top and you kind of flick your wrist right as you're about to hit it, making it, spin erratically. These are generally pretty hard to receive just because the amount of spin on them. You don't have to give it a lot. Because of the erratic spin, they do also have an unpredictable path. So this is my teammate Jessica's serving. She has a really good example of a standing topspin serve. And then the next serve is my personal favorite. It's the jump float serve. Personally, I think this is easier to do if you are smaller because you get a lot more height, so you could get pretty much like a better, more aggressive serve. So it is more advanced than staying on the ground because you are obviously jumping in the air. So that's why you really want to get your timing down for a standing serve before you graduate to jumping. So it's the standard approach that you use when you're hitting. So if you're right-handed, you would use a left, right, left, and then, obviously jump. So you would do those steps, and as you are leaving the ground, you would toss the ball right in front of you, also at extended arm's length, and hit the ball. And you really have to play around with timing for this serve because you really have to alter the toss to get your timing right. And you also want to toss the ball more in front because we have a tendency to jump forward. While it's ideal that hitters jump straight up, the momentum is really hard to stop as you're taking your approach. So you really want to just be cautious and play around with it, like that type of serve. And your timing really just depends on your toss, your vertical, and how much time you take to make your approach. The rules for a jump float serve is that you can land in the court and it's not considered a foot fault as long as you take off behind the service line. And this is an example of my teammate Brianna. She has a really nice jump float serve as well. The next and final serve we're going to be talking about is the jump topspin serve. This is considered the most complicated serve in volleyball. The timing is so difficult. It literally has to be perfect every single time. You have to practice this one end on end on end. I've gotten it a couple times and then other times just a miserable fail. So you still use the standard hitting approach that you use in your jump float serve, but instead of tossing the ball while you're leaving the ground, you actually have to toss before you even start your approach. So obviously you really have to know your timing well. You have to know your approach well. It basically has to become second nature of you. Theoretically, a jump topspin is basically like a 10, which is a back row attack, except you're just like hitting it off of your own toss, if that makes sense. And then the same rules for a foot fault for the jump float serve applied to the topspin. And then this is an example of my friend Emily, and a lot of us don't do jump topspin serves unless we're ahead by like 10 points because we know, you can mess up. It's fun to experiment and stuff, but game-like situations, you really want to stay focused and stuff. And another volleyball term that we use for serving is an ace. So you guys can see in the video in Emily's jump topspin serve, an ace is when the ball hits the ground immediately after the serve and there's no contact, or when only one contact is made immediately after the serve. So basically it's called a shank when you pass a ball and it like goes another direction that no one can get to. Only one touch on the ball right after the serve, and those are considered aces. So that concludes my volleyball terminology video. I should have another one of these going up in 2 weeks. Let me know what you guys want it to be on. I'm thinking I'm going to make it a passing terminology video, but I'm not exactly sure yet. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! So this first video is going to be all on... A service error is basically an unsuccess, or when only one contact. Same terminology,